O Allah, guide me among those whom thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what thou hast judged. Surely thou judgest, and none can judge against thee, and he whom thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art thou, O Lord, and exalted be thee above what they set up besides thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is thy servant and apostle. Amen.
You belong to yourself. You're an independent people, created from the nation of free people. Yes, sir. You don't need to go nowhere but to yourself. Yes, sir. There will be a great separation. Yes, sir. So I said it is on now.
The college is meant to prepare you for your future. That the time dictates that if we don't do something for ourselves as a people, we will be destroyed. And the aim of the enemy right now is to take us out.
We have God with us. We have Him as our guide. Yes, sir. We don't have to stand around here and ask the question, what must be done? Yes, sir. Get up and let's go and do something. Yes, sir. We cannot sit down. We cannot lay down. Yes, sir. We must get up. Yes, sir. And go to work.
Do you know what real joy is in life? Visioning something and bringing it into reality. That's real joy. Do you know what the next step in joy is? Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell in unity.
Tonight, you need to fasten your seatbelts. We're going to hear from some of the greatest minds in the world. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of trusting our future and the future of our children into the hands of those who don't love us. I believe we need to revitalize black leadership.
Greetings, supporters. Our new sponsor, Sister Sheba Muhammad, through her jewelry company, is giving you a free sterling silver chain when you purchase your commemorative Elijah coin pendant. The link is in the bio. You're tuned in to the Mind of an Entrepreneur show with your host, myself, Sajdah Wendy Muhammad. I am a multi-million-dollar business developer. I have developed business and real estate around the world, and I want to share with you my mental strategies, my technical strategies, and how I made it in the world of business. So I don't teach theory. I tell you about my life and introduce you to people who can also share with you what they've done to become successful. This is a practical show. This ain't a theory show. You don't want to miss it. So stay tuned.
Peace and blessings, family. Assalamu alaikum. Let me open this chat. Let me see what y'all over there in there doing. Okay, welcome. Wa alaikum salam. I see Brother Carlos, Sister Roxanne, Brother Lamont. Welcome, welcome. Thank you all this morning for joining me. It's a special morning. It's been storming over here in Chicago. We got a lot of hail. So So the storm is nice sometimes, but the hail, that's different, right? Working out of my peacock cup this morning. I got some African nectar tea. So I hope everybody's been doing well. Type in the chat. Let me know if you have any questions this morning. Something that's been on my mind, and I've done this on the Mind of an Entrepreneur show in the past, in terms of talking to us about how to negotiate and how to deal with people, excuse me, who either want to come into our businesses or who are we're pitching to do business with. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I want to give a shout out to all the brothers coming through Chicago this week for a very special event, and many of whom stopped by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House, Sajdah House, yesterday. And we did a very special tour with a very special group of brothers. We had a great time. And literally, when we were coming out, there were more brothers who wanted to come in and be a part of it. Good morning, Mom. There were other brothers who wanted to come out and take a tour, but we literally had just been at it all day, right? So, but inshallah, very soon in the future, we're getting to the point where we're close. So, and they got a chance to experience the magic of that sacred space. They got an opportunity to experience how, physical places where divine people have lived and dwelled can literally change your DNA. So we talked about that and just experienced that and felt time just stand still. It really feels like you time travel when you take a tour of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House. And what I have going across the screen here is just asking you to make sure you like and subscribe to this page. I'll put up a little later my mailing list for you to join, because we got to get to the point where we talk outside of social media, because you never know what's going to happen on these platforms. Y'all see all the stuff that's going on today. So make sure you get your commemorative Elijah coin. It's important that we own and monetize our history. It's important that we are learning to be independent. And so make sure that you go out and get your commemorative Elijah coin. We want to finance the rest of this project with you. And you all know me, I don't ask you for anything without giving you something in return. So whether you get a coin, whether you get a hat, a t-shirt, a statue, a sculpture, something, I like giving. That's part of how I am blessed. That's my blessing track, if you will. And so you give to me, it give to the project, and it gives me an opportunity to give to you. So welcome and thank you again. But it's important that you get those, that you order your pendants soon, because we're not going to have that many of them in the very near future. So there will only be 125 of those commemorative coins. So make sure you get them. And then the graded coins, we have quite a few of these. And these are the ones that you're going to need to be able to come in and do your membership. And I'm telling you, I was telling the brothers yesterday, I said, look, tell people about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad experience, because it's just something that you are not going to want to miss. Trust me when I tell you that. Good morning, Sister Aletha. Good morning, Brother Kevin. So we had a great time. What we're going to start doing is we're going to start selling some of the items that are our retail items and things like that. We're going to start rolling those out. We're building a sales team, and you may see them out in full force next week. If you did not get a chance to be a part of the Experience Team webinar and you want to become a sales rep, send me an email to sajdahhouse@gmail.com. sajdahhouse@gmail.com, sajdahhouse@gmail.com. And then this way you can come on and I can talk to you about becoming an experienced rep. We can get you onboarded with the second round of reps. First round of reps are getting onboarded now, but we'll do something else again. All right. So let's talk about this organizational piece and this kind of stuff. You all know I'm about giving away free game. And because what I could not stand as a budding entrepreneur, I can't stand it to this day. I can't stand people who have game, who play games, and then they put and dangle it in your face. And I know for me, becoming an entrepreneur and doing for self and being successful at it was something that was burning in my desire so strong, it still does, that I needed it. And I really felt, people were playing games. And I watch people play games all the time. I watch podcasts. I see people form these special circles that they don't let anybody else in. I see people, excuse me, when they reach out to people, they're withholding information. I spend so much money, in webinars, seminars, networking, meeting with people. And it's all a lot of times usury. Folks using folks. Reason why is because they're not nation building. They're nation building for themselves and their own little empire, but they're not about giving up the game to you. Not authentic. So that's why I come and tell you all these things. That's why last Wednesday, and you got to go back and listen to last Wednesday's show. Excuse me, you got to go back and listen, because Brother Abdul Shabazz and I talked about, he gave up the game on an investment opportunity that I think is a very good and viable one. So you got to talk about that. You got to check that out and go listen to past episodes. But for as little as $5,000, you can invest in mobile homes. A lot of people, we uncovered and broke down the stigmatism connected to mobile homes and, the whole trailer park mindset. Just go check it out. But this is what I have to tell you. I put down a couple of notes. Many times you start your business, and when people are moving forward and they see you, and the way that they try to get in, because they see you got a good thing, they see you got something that you're doing, is they come to you and criticize you. It's so easy to be an armchair quarterback. It's so easy to sit on the sidelines and criticize somebody and tell them what they should be doing. And listen, in my case, where I work on a lot of groundbreaking projects, I've done a lot of things that no one has ever done before. And so I'm used to people coming to me with the BS. And so I'm a little bit skilled in reading through it. And so I want to help you all, because I see you all falling into this trap as entrepreneurs, right? And this is the Sajdah Saturday Morning Coffee Talk, where we talk about what? Life, love, and business. So here's the first thing. They try to criticize you. They sit at home or sit wherever they at, and they're armchair quarterbacks. And so they talk about, well, this is what you should do, or I don't like this. And you're doing what you're doing, and it's an authentic expression of who you are. But they come and want to take away your authenticity and tell you to do it the way they think you should do it. Let me just first say this to people. If you see somebody doing something in business and they're a young entrepreneur, they're just starting, and young doesn't mean young in age. It just means young in your business, and you have a suggestion, then approach it as a suggestion. Don't come to people and start criticizing them. Oh, I've had people email me and say, Wendy, can you move around? I just don't really like your background. I don't like the books. Use a virtual background. Or I have people say, you look cute in your beret, But sometimes, can you not wear it? I've had people come to me and say, let's just don't say Sajdah. All kind of stuff. But if you really are a good consultant and a good advisor, then, and this is what I do, and I consider myself a good consultant and a good advisor. I'm going to toot my own horn right there. If you work with me and I give you some advice on your business, I consult you on your business, it's because I've really sat down and tried to figure out how to tune into you, help you maintain your authenticity and find a way to improve and open yourself up to new opportunities. I'm known for that. So it becomes a pet peeve when, and I think it's hilarious when people come to me and try to be something other than that. But that's the first thing a lot of times people do. Then the other thing that people do is they try to remove you from your project. I've had people say to me like, you got a little scope creep between your projects. Like Sajdah House, it's maybe a little bit too much of you, or let's remove your face, or let's remove your name. And I laughed because I said, Allah gave me the name Sajdah for the house. Wasn't my name. He gave it to me for the house because I was afraid to put the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's name on a house that was in the condition that it was in, when I first got it. My brother and mom are here. They can bear witness. The condition of the house was horrific. And so I was like, I can't put his name on this. So I said, we're going to call it Sajdah House. And then I asked the minister, I said, do you think that Sajdah is the right name for the project? And then he later said, it's the right name for the project and the right name for you. So it was almost like the revelation of my name came the way the scientists write history, right? They write the history and then we walk into it. So it was written and then I walked into it. So I get these advisors that say, well, it's too much you and you need to take yourself out of it. But this is what people do when they want to come in and find a way to take over your project. Because if they can remove you, then the people who follow the project and the people who support the project will not be endeared to you, because what they're trying to do is step in and get some of your endearment. So I've seen that so many times. I've seen it even when we were doing the micro hospital in Maryland, where people would literally tell my business partner and I, why don't y'all remove y'all faces? And it's just the building and the business. Well, that's a big mistake. Chef Daryl was on the show 2 weeks ago and he talked about having his face on the product. That's important. There ain't nothing wrong with that. See, big business, in many cases, would remove the faces of the people who developed the businesses, because in a lot of cases, they were disingenuous and downright dishonest and immoral on some of the things that they were doing. So they didn't want their faces on it. They knew that it was fake food. They knew it was something that was unsafe or whatever it was. So they didn't want their faces on it. So what we don't realize that we do is we practice these techniques in the name of being a business person. That's the reason why they remove our history from us. So for example, if I get a business card and there's a face on there that I relate to, I'm going to go to that business before I go to the business that has no face on it. So that's why a lot of times people want you to remove your face and yourself from your business. And I like telling people, listen, I function by the grace of Allah in a very divine way. I see what I do as part of my divinity here on this earth. So I'm not going to let you remove me, because for years, I let myself be removed. For years, I was building businesses in the corporate world, making them millions of dollars. I built almost a quarter or over $250 million worth of businesses for somebody else. Most of them were and are still very successful. But my name and my face was removed. So I just go to work every day, give this very valuable and divine information and talent away. And when it came time to take credit for it, I wasn't called up on stage. I wasn't recognized. And there was a side of me that had a certain level of humility and felt like, it don't really matter. But then there was another side that understood exactly what they were doing. Exactly what they were doing. This is a practice in business in the predatory capitalist world. I'll give you another example. When here's two examples. When we were building the minimally invasive vascular center, we started with clinics, and then we went from clinics to surgery centers, then the ambulatory surgery center, then the freestanding surgery center, and then the micro hospital. So there was a progression. A lot of people didn't know that because they don't know what they were seeing or what they were looking at. I got three examples. One example, I received probably like in 15 or 16, like an honorary doctorate from a group of doctors in the hospital who used to bet that I actually was a doctor. So there was a whole process behind that. But what was interesting was I had, for a particular hospital, put together a proposal that I called the Circle of Care. And the proposal was designed by the company to go to a government organization, or designed by me to go to a government organization to help the hospital to get money for underserved patients, right? To help bridge some of the gap between, or fill in some of the gap between, or that was connected to healthcare disparities. So I put it together, and we submitted it, or at least, but what they did was they took my name off of it, our company name. I had my business partner down there as the lead surgeon and physician on it, and they sent it to Medicare with their name on it. Well, they got denied. But check this out. This is what happens when you remove the people who authenticated something. Medicare then took the proposal and made it part of their 2015 policies and procedures. So when we got the policies and procedures for 2015, we're reading it. And I wasn't reading it. My business partner was actually sitting next to me, and he said, "Are these your words?" He says, "Is this the process that you asked me about?" Because what I would do is I would go and talk to him about processes, like what is needed. So he would kind of engineer it in his head. I'd take it and reduce it on paper and sort of color it in. And we laughed because they denied the hospital who tried to steal it from us, but made it a part of their policies and procedures anyway. So it was good enough. I'll tell you something else. Well, that's an example that I just want you all to see that people do in order to try to remove you from a project. And I get it all the time. I get it all the time with the Black Muslim Business Directory. Speaking of which, if you're a member of the Black Muslim Business Directory, we now are, we got new tech support people coming on board. We're rebuilding the site. We're going to be putting some advertising on there. But I get people all the time. It's not a coincidence to me that I got 3 offers to purchase the Black Muslim Business Directory. And then we got hacked and everything just went haywire with all of these viral things on there. And most of the businesses, their icons got taken away. So what I ask you to do is to join anyway. And I'm working on putting together a team that can give you the time and attention that is needed, and we'll get it back going and put more details on there and some advertising on there. But I've had people say, separate yourself from it. What does that mean? What does that mean? You mean to tell me I come up with something? What you want me to do is give you my idea. See, I recognize this because this is what happened to me in corporate. I gave up my ideas. I gave up my skills, built these businesses, put together these policies, these procedures, these processes. It's like having a baby and walking away from it. And I became so good at doing it and walking away, doing it and walking away. And I did it so much that I can do it relatively quickly. But I said, I'm not walking away from my stuff no more. And if I walk away from it, you're going to know while I was there, because maybe I sell it or whatever I decide to do, you're going to know while I was there that, in fact, I'm the one who put it together. See, history matters because there's some little girl who is watching this who will sit down and become an engineer or an accountant or a finance person or a healthcare person and all the things that Allah has blessed me to do and say, you know what? I want to do that. And they will see what I've done and realize I don't have to reinvent the wheel because Auntie did it. She put it together. That's what's important. So beware of that in your businesses when you're inventing, when you're putting together things, when people try to separate you from what you've created and what you've put together. Here's the next thing. When you sit down and you go and you look for services and people say to you, what's your budget? I cannot stand that. I never ask somebody that. You know why? Because either they can pay or they don't. What's important for me is that I transfer this energy to the extent that I can. You've already come through a vetting process. If you can't afford it, you just can't afford it, but maybe you will later. Maybe you're the person I'm going to talk to because you know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody. But most of these people, they either are adopting a predatory capitalist structure in the way that they're negotiating with you, or they are the predator themselves because they walk in and say, you sit down and you're like, oh, I want to talk about it. And IT people are notorious for this. You know, you walk in a car dealership, most time they don't say what's your budget. They showing you the top of the line and the bottom. But IT people who put structures together, they are notorious for this. I have a little axe to grind with developers and stuff like that. I just can't stand them because they're always scamming. And they always say, well, what's your budget? What do you mean, what's my budget? I'm telling you what I want, put it together, and then I'll decide. Ain't that what we on the phone for? Or what you going to do? You just going to hang up if I say I ain't got no budget? So you know what I normally tell them? I don't have no budget. I could be sitting here with hundreds of thousands of dollars in my account, millions of dollars in my account, and I will say, I don't have a budget. So you're either going to present to me or you're not. Now, it's different if we, and nowadays they've taken that away. So for example, if you sell real estate, obviously you have to know what the person qualifies for, right? Before you start running around showing them houses. That's a different dynamic. But when you and I are talking and we're doing a consultation, let me give you some advice, Black entrepreneurs. Before you adopt this predatory capitalist style, show people. That's why in real estate, if they show you 3 houses, they'll show you something that's above your budget, at your budget, and below your budget. Why? Because they don't want to blow you out of the water. They want you to be able to see what you can afford and then help you get into it. That's normally how they do it. Or if you send, most places will say, well, send me your pre-qualification letter. But when I'm sitting down with somebody from a consulting standpoint, a development standpoint, and let me say this to you all as IT developers, this is what you need to learn. What you need to learn how to do is layer your proposal. Because I know for myself, I may very well have the ability to get a $100,000 system developed, but I might not trust you. So what you do to build that trust is you layer your proposal. And if you ain't got time for that, then I accept that me and you can't work together. Because a lot of people say, well, I ain't got time for that. I ain't got time for that. I ain't got time to be messing with Black people. I ain't got time to be messing with people that don't know what they want. I get it. I totally get it. But guess what? with as fast as the economy moves today, that's a huge mistake. A huge mistake. Because that person on the other side of the table, on the other side of that Zoom, on the other side of that phone call might be one deal away from being a millionaire or a billionaire. They might be one project away, one yes away from becoming what you thought they were not. And things move quickly today. Quickly today. So it's a big mistake to throw that shade on people. And what you need to learn how to do is layer your proposals. See, smart developers and entrepreneurs layer their proposal. They say, we can break this up into phases. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And as we move through the phases, what happens? Then there's another draw or an invoice due. There's another payment or another payment. Don't play people. I tell people don't play me with what's your budget. And if I don't say $1 million, if I tell you my budget's $1 million, how much you gonna spend? You're trying to spend that whole $1 million. See, when they say what's your budget, they really trying to say how much money you got for me. And so what I say to them is I say, I don't know. I don't have no budget. And if you walk away, you don't have the right mindset. You're not a builder. You're not a developer. You're not trying to ride this train. People who understand how to get in at the beginning and on the ground level. Listen, I am a witness bearer to that. I've worked with people when maybe they initially didn't have the money, and then we've made hundreds of thousands of dollars together. Built multi-million dollar businesses together. So learn how. I'm not telling you to go and work for that person full time and dive all in and you know they ain't got no money. But stop throwing shade on people because you think they have no money. We live in an internet world. You can't judge people by the way they look. You can't judge them by their color. You just have absolutely no idea. And if you are always looking at people through the lens of a predator, the lens of predatory capitalists, you're going to miss out, especially as a Black person. I'm just here to tell y'all that. So layer your proposals. And when people ask you, well, what's your budget? Say, look, this is what I want. Price it out for me. See, if I have a meeting with people, a 30-minute meeting with somebody, then I come back and I say, okay, if I was to do all of this right now for them right now, let's say it might be $10,000. Let's use that number. And I don't know where they are or not. So what I do is I break it up in phases. What does that do? It builds trust. It helps me so that when they move to the next phase of their business, if I have enough confidence in what I'm doing for them and the advice that I'm giving them, and I know that my product is good and it's going to attract money and opportunity to them, then I should be wanting to stay on for the long term, for the long haul. See, you could be working a corporate job and that stuff is not, look, I've been through that whole thing. It's not solid. I've been in so many back rooms where you, Mr. Corporate, Miss Corporate, have been discussed as to whether or not they're going to keep you. And they asking me, a random person from the outside, what you think about so-and-so. Happens every single day. So don't get so beside yourself because the folks you work for, the white folks you work for, is smiling in your face. You so happy that you're there because you don't know when they're going to change the program and you might be gone. That's just part of how we are today. The average person nowadays stays with a company 3 to 5 years, and that's long. No longer like when our parents worked and they worked someplace 30 years, 40 years, 20 years, or some of us have worked places 10, 12, 15 years. That's gone. And so you got to see yourself as an entrepreneur. You got to see yourself as somebody who is moving through this business world as a professional on a whole nother level. Don't go to that company and lay down and think I'm just going to be there. And so let me just become a predatory capitalist like they are because this is what they do and it works for them. Here's another one. I want you to stay consistent. because consistency is where the reward is. And constantly in your consistency, keep reinventing yourself, keep reinventing ourselves. I've been writing a 1-hour show once a week for 2009. Most people say, they could never keep up with that. Most people won't be consistent. You see them start something, they start something good. I guarantee you 3 to 6 months from now, they're not going to be there. I've been writing a 1-hour show, The Mind of an Entrepreneur show, since 2009. A brand new show. It's rarely the same thing over and over again. Hundreds, thousands of topics. Now I'm doing 2 shows, sometimes 3 shows a week, different topics. But the idea is to constantly reinvent yourself, constantly recreate, constantly go inside of yourself consistently and find new ways and new things that you can work on and new things that you can offer, but reinvent yourself, be consistent. So I laugh when people say, you should talk about this. Boo, I've been on since 2009. So I just have to put these things out there because this is important. There was one other thing I was going to tell you. The budget thing, the consistency, that's important. Anybody with any questions in the chat, anything that you want to talk about, in terms of what I just shared, that you want to share? We're also broadcasting live on Twitter as well. So those of you, welcome to our Twitter audience who is seeing us. Facebook is not being our friend, so try to go live with this with Facebook, and they're not friendly with us, or I should say the Meta. Isn't that interesting how Mark Zuckerberg is smart? He called his company Meta. And so when he creates the metaverse, people think that's the only metaverse. But, you can have a metaverse for your company. So what we're working to build for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House is a metaverse. It's an immersive experience, both physically. It's interesting because I hear people with their corporate speak and they say, well, don't use this term and don't use that term. Listen, use whatever terms you want. Let me say this also. There's so much going on now with cancel culture, with, folks being scared. Let me tell you something. We're already in a global economy. Okay. So the people that they told y'all back in the day not to like, the people that they told y'all back in the day not to be friends with, are now global customers and global partners. They're doing business with them, but people are telling you and I, don't like this person, don't talk to this person. But we're in a global economy. And if you're going to make money, you have to know how to function on a global level if you want to see yourself and your business moving into the future. Now, if you just on some temporary, look, I'm just trying to get what I can get now, I'm just trying to get my hustle on, that's fine. But be very weary, again, of adopting these predatory, capitalistic, cultural rules that you see out there without any research. We're in a global world. So there are going to be people from other countries and other world who like your project. Think about it. Hip hop's all around the world. Hip hop is in Afghanistan. It's in India. It's in all throughout Asia. It's in Europe. It's in Africa. You got, it's just huge. South America, Mexico, Canada, you name it. Hip hop's everywhere. But yet people will tell us, don't do business with certain people. This is a predatory capitalist way of doing business. Here's another example from the healthcare industry. When we first started putting the clinics up, There were some other vascular and cardiovascular surgeons that asked my business partner to come and meet with them. When they came and met with them, they sat in front of him like this, a list of zip codes. This is gangbanging 101. You can function in these zip codes. We're going to function in these zip codes. So-and-so got that zip code. And you can't go outside of your zip code. He was like, first of all, who are you to tell me where I can and can't go? And you know what they said? They said, well, you're Black. And the majority of people with cardiovascular disease look like you. And they're going to trust you before they trust us, because they were people that didn't look like us. They said they're going to trust you before they trust us. And we can't let you have access to all these zip codes. So you're restricted to this zip code. And I can't tell you how many different ways they got the middle finger from him. But this is what they do to us. And sometimes we fall into it. Don't do this. Don't say this. Don't go here. You can't say anything. Whatever happened to, two things I want to say about this. One, if you're in a position of leadership and in a position of power, it's like being a parent, right? And your child cries out. They have a grievance. Child may not be mature enough to say things in the right way. They may not articulate properly, but they got a grievance. Okay? Whatever happened to sitting the child down and saying, even if you don't do it in the right way, say, what's wrong with you? And then the child says, well, you did such and such, such and such. Okay, is there anything else? And what about whatever happened to figuring out how you can work together to solve this problem? Because if that's your child, or if that person that works for you looks like 75% of your customers, or if you know that the ideas that your company is promoting come from these workers, these agents, these rappers, these athletes, these whatever, your entire industry is contingent upon this person, wouldn't it make more sense to sit down and show the rest of the workers that you're willing to maybe compromise on some things? Or does it make more sense to just destroy them? What happens when you destroy them? You're demonstrating to, we're not talking about, this ain't slavery time. See, during slavery, because it was that day and time, when the buck breaking happened, when people got whipped, you know, they had all these techniques where they would whip people. They would take the women and stretch them, and if they were pregnant, and rip the baby out of their stomach, and do all of these things in the public. So it would scare the rest of the slaves, and they would say, okay, I ain't going to do that. And then it was especially impactful with women with their male children, because they didn't want their male children to go to jail or get beat. And so they kind of just kept them close, made them become softer, tried to nurse the masculinity out of them, because they didn't want them to be confrontational even in their presence to the master. But now you fast forward 400 years, 500 years, and times are different. And so being that, right, the majority of the people in the world now are people of color. So it makes sense that if you're not of color and you're a leader, call me and I can help you. And you're a leader, that if there's a problem, that you sit down and say, what's the problem? You ain't even got, if they give you 10 things that's wrong, you ain't even got to agree to all 10. Just agree to 5. And then go out and say to the world, we met, we compromised. But instead, when that person who may be a little immature, they might be like a child, they have a grievance, they say something, and you destroy them in the public. What do you think that especially the younger people are thinking? Some people are thinking, man, I ain't going to do that. I ain't messing with that. Some people, you got some people still scary like that. But I don't think the majority of the people are like, you're not reading the landscape. Because most people are looking like, that's how we need to be. That's how tight we need to be. You can't kill us. You can't talk about us. There was a time when Black folks was like that. We could talk about our family member, but you can't. Now we join every other culture and talking smack, calling each other idiots, saying all kind of stuff in the public about our people. But there was a time when you couldn't do that. But some people are looking at this behavior and going, we need to go back to that. Other people are saying, and I think a lot of people are saying, you know what? What they saying about you is true. And you just proved it. And now I get it. And what you do and what you do from a genetic standpoint, when you show people that, you are putting them in a position, because remember, their desire, everybody's desire is to be free. So now you're putting their subconscious brain cells to work so that they're devising and working to devise another system that does not include you, because nobody wants to be destroyed. Your hand is too heavy. So when a person says, nope, I don't want to be destroyed, unfortunately, this is not for you. It's not the 1800s. So nobody wants to be destroyed. So while you might destroy or kill that person, the other people are saying, we're going to create a whole different economy. We're going to create an underground economy that we can get paid off of. We're going to be creative and create something else. All your ideas come from these people. So why not? Why not fake it out? But it just goes to show that sense ain't common. Your hand's too heavy. You can't be that big of a predator and that big of a murderer and expect, unless your goal is to just murder and destroy, maybe not. But you can't be that heavy, because what you're doing is the dissatisfaction that you're creating in the people that are watching you is causing them to subconsciously create another system. You're talking about a creative people that you've kidnapped, tortured, sold, Jim Crowed, moved around, imprisoned, that we still here. And so in still being here, how do we survive? We survive through our creativity. We always went back to nature. So what you're doing is you're just forcing millions of people to come up with an alternative. And they may not even come up with an alternative consciously. It may be subconscious. That's why there's so many markets. There's so many emerging markets that you know nothing about. Because in your dominant market, you're so heavy-handed that all these submarkets and subcultures are bubbling up in Black and brown communities around the world. And as those subcultures begin to bubble up, you don't have your hand in them. And you won't have your hand in them because your hand's too heavy. So I didn't mean to say that today, but that just has been on my heart. And I'm saying that mainly even for us. So when you see this heavy-handedness, and when we are in a position where we are a unified force and we're pooling our resources and we're coming together, and somebody has criticism of us, that type of response where we respond so heavily that it's really deadly force. It's in a different way, but it's financial deadly force. It's no different than a foot on the neck, like in the George Floyd case, or killing someone, like the thousands of people that get killed by the police. That's deadly force. You respond to an incident, maybe a small incident, or maybe an incident that had you just rein the person in and had a conversation. Maybe that small incident, you now respond with deadly force. somebody got a bad sticker on their car, an expired tag, and you kill them over an expired tag. It's deadly force. Somebody saying something, you have a huge conglomerate, if you will. You're a huge mogul. Somebody say something about you, and so you respond with deadly force. You're setting yourself up and going down the track. You can't practice deadly force without dying yourself, without pointing yourself towards death. And it's just wrong. It's just wrong. So I just want to say that these are negotiation techniques in your company and your business. Somebody come with a grievance, somebody come with a problem, somebody come with an issue. Sit down and have a conversation with them, because you never know what you're going to learn. You never know what you're going to learn that's going to set you up for doing business in a better way in the future. You may learn what your customers know. It's one thing to be selling a product and not know your customer. And it's another thing to sell a product and to know your customer. So, all right, peace and blessings, family. Thank you all very much in the chat for being active. And thank you very much. Thank you to our Twitter audience who is listening live. Join my mailing list. Let me put this up here because I got a surprise for you all. And we're going to have some additional platforms coming up. And I want you to be able to get that information. I want to be able to share with you what's going on, whether it's movie premieres, whether it's product launches, opportunities. So make sure you text Do For Self to 855-574-9099. And that's DO, the number 4, SELF. So I just put this across the bottom of the screen. I call it the manifestation circle, the Sajdah circle of winners, whatever you want to call it. Join my mailing list. This is going to allow us to communicate outside and stay in touch outside of social media, because you just never know what's going to happen. Okay. And it's time for us to own and monetize our history, support the completion of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House. Make sure you go out, get your commemorative Elijah coin. I think it's imperative that this house be finished by the people that he gave his life to and continues to give his life to. So thank you all. Thank you all very much. Go out there, support the completion of the home. History matters. And remember this, freedom ain't free. We got to do more. We got to be deliberate because it ain't free. So thank you for tuning in to the Sajdah Saturday morning coffee talks this morning. I appreciate you all very much. And inshallah, I'll see you this week. I'm working on a really cool authenticity show with my girl, Sabrina Kane. So that's going to be fun. Stay tuned. Look out for that flyer. But join that mailing list. And then that way you all will get all the information. Text Do For Self, DO, the number 4, SELF to 855-574-9099. And we'll be able to text you and alert you. We'll remind you about things. We'll try not to blow up your text. It's funny because sometimes I sign up for mailing lists and the people are my friends. So I want to be on their mailing list, but they send so many emails that I find myself wanting to unsubscribe. Or they send so many texts and I'm like, I can't keep up. There's some groups that I'm on WhatsApp with some people that are cool with me, and I want to be a part of their network, but it's just too much for me to keep up with. I'm going to try not to bombard you like that. I try to make sure that our information is concise and it's succinct. And if we have to remind you about certain things, I think probably the most text we've sent out is to remind you about the commemorative Elijah coins. And because that's important, that's an ongoing thing. One more thing also, if you want to be an experienced rep for Sajdah House, send me an email at Sajdah House. Send an email to sajdahhouse@gmail.com. Send your resume and tell me why you feel like you should be doing this and why you love the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And one other thing, make sure you like and subscribe to the page. Peace and blessings, family. Do something good for somebody today. I see a few things coming in the chat. Thank you. Thank you very much. Enjoy your weekend too as well, Brother Lamont. May Allah bless each and every one of you. Peace and blessings.